Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to each and every one of you. I am Dr. Amina Ali, CEO of the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights, and we are coming to you today for our third event, HeForShe CSW66, the Male Advocacy in Gender and Human Rights for Women. I am excited. Today, we are going to hear from the Caribbean voice on sexual and gender-based violence. I'm excited. We have with us amongst the many panelists here today, we have Ambassador Andrew Ramjohn, who is the FIGHR ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago and the CARICOM. And he, along with his team of very well organized, very well vetted advocates, is going to be speaking about sexual and gender-based violence, what it is, how it is, why it's still allowed, what is it that we could do together to be better, and how it is that we can promote solutions to perform better as humanitarians. And I am excited to have each and every one of them here with us. As always, we will introduce them in form, and we will introduce their bio before we delve into their questions systematically. We have three from the CARICOM, and we have one special guest that we brought on who has been working in real estate, but has seen an influx in this, in the communities and the residences that he has been going into. And I thought it best to add his voice to this because he has spoken very well against sexual and gender-based violence. He is also a very well-known real estate investor in the continent. And I think it is very, very necessary to see the difference in someone that is vetted in sexual and gender-based violence and someone that works in it or is exposed to it, to see the variances in the voice. And all of them will give you a great dissertation for what it is that we are speaking about today. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit, as we always do. We're going to give you a little bit about the Federation as well as why we chose this, and then go into our day. The Federation of International Gender and Human Rights is a social impact organization that is designed and defined to offer solutions, ready-made and actual solutions through the advocacy, the education, the information, and the dissemination of knowledge that is before us in sexual gender-based violence, FGM, IDPs, domestic violence, and intimate partner violence. We couple with world helpers to be able to assert and attain the understanding of what it means to be a servant, while our due diligence in the humanitarian work allows our mission and our focus to be seen globally. We are a very hands-on organization, as though the executive team is very behind the scenes. We have very astute people on the ground doing work in West Africa, South Africa, East Africa, and North Africa. And our new vetting is in the Asias, which is Dubai, UAE, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh, which is our next ventures of orientation. We have been accredited in January to offer and monetize our educational forces. We have a chaplaincy as well as a doctoral program, as we have been known for our fellowship. And as Dr. Williams congratulated, she's one of our founding members of the doctoral program. She is also someone that is mitigated to know the truth in this. Thank you so very much. I am very well versed. Okay, can we hear us now? Seems like I went on mute. We are very well versed in understanding what it is and what is needed to augment this in each of the communities. And we set aside some time, energy, and effort to train and advocate for those that are needing the education. And so far to date, we have well over 372 sexual and gender-based advocates that are globally working to cure, cause, and eradicate sexual and gender-based violence. That is as of today. I had one of the interns count the last 6 fellowships And we have counted 372 with 30 to graduate, which will put us well over 400 when this class right now graduates in 4 weeks. So I am excited. I cannot tell you how excited I am to know we have trained 400 human souls around the world to combat this. And this is trained. This is from beginning to end. They have their certificate and they are able to work in the field and teach in the field as well. I am so honored, so humble, and may God be given the full glory to this, because I am truly a servant and vessel in humility. So thank you so very much. So why this event? Why this event? Why are we coming forward with this event? Why are we needing the male voice if we are so heavily vetted in female, in the female form? Why this male voice? Well, the HeForShe event, of course, as you know, HeForShe is a UN Women's Solidarity Movement campaign. And it is designed and desired for the men to get in and advocate for women. We always have this thing where if we're for women, they feel we're against men, when really what we are is we are trying to find solutions that fit, and then we're going to use the male voice to advocate for that. So it's not that we're against men, we just need you men to be in a space where the advocacy is felt and it is healing. So this advocacy and this event is designed for us to see that in real time. So we gather a plethora of intellectual, exciting, and inviting men that are in the work already and that are doing the work systematically to come on and to speak their piece. It is individual programs. We have very spontaneous and true to form programs on Instagram where we have the men just come on and just spill what they want, how they feel. We also do scheduled programs like this side event for CSW, which is one of the bigger factors that we work for, the Commission on the Status of Women, which is a UN factored event every March of every year, even including through COVID. We did side events, virtual events, and we're doing the events that have shattered the ceilings to get the voice out there for sexual and gender-based violence. And this FIGHR collaborative with other male workers, other male voices, is designed and divined to give that voice energy. So we're not going to cite on anything other than the truth. We're going to speak truth to power, and we're going to give this energy. We are being hosted by Ambassador Andrew Ramjohn, as you know, is the FIGHR ambassador to the CARICOM and Trinidad and Tobago. He is also a very well-vetted voice in Trinidad and Tobago in his own diplomatic work and delegation work with sexual and gender-based violence. He also has shape-shifted the voice of the victim of sexual and gender-based violence in Trinidad to be able to speak his or her piece and be able to get formulated policies in place for the workings of better laws and better punishment for those that advocate violence in sexual. So we have been hosted by him. He is our representative and his delegation is here today. We have his full delegation as I'm looking at the list here in attendance. We have emissary Kareem Daniel, we have, who is one of our panelists. We have emissary Adina Sandy, and we have, of course, one of our esteemed panelists that we're going to be listening to, Mackenzie Francis. And he is going to be speaking on this topic, the Caribbean voice on sexual and gender-based violence. And this is going to be a very intentional forum. Each of the speakers will have 5 to 6 minutes to speak their piece. We will then have try to get a question and answer piece. So if you ever have questions throughout this, please put it in the chat and we will answer them after the panelists have spoken. We are equally going to have a last minute, because we have a small group today, we're going to have a last minute leaving of the gems, as I like to call it. And this is where we allow each of the panelists to give a piece of them to be left to us. And then they will leave their information in the chat box and you will be able to chat with them offline. So without further ado, we're going to get into the variances of what we are doing today. I have in front of me 4 powerful men that are going to be opening the delegation in true form. And they're going to be opening it with the understanding of what it is that sexual and gender-based violence has meant in the country of Trinidad and Tobago. We will also be mentioning that our special guest, who will be coming on after these three panelists, who will be coming on to speak about this topic in his own right, based on his experience. I want to recognize two ambassadors that are here, as well as Chaplain James Mercy, who has come aboard to support the cause. Thank you so very much. We have Ambassador Ronica Bailey, and we have Dr. Saeed Hanif Dean, who is here supporting also. Thank you so very much for joining. We have I just got a message that we have an ambassador from Senegal and one from the Ivory Coast who is here. Thank you so very much for coming. And they are being led on by their delegation. So thank you so very much for your time, and thank you for supporting this cause. We have first up a gentleman who needs no introduction. I just spoke very, very highly of him. He is our ambassador, and he is also an ambassador that has taken on the charge in Trinidad to be able to offer what we need as far as solutions. And he also allows us to know that there are voices, although very quiet, very demure, that there are voices that are taking center stage in what it is that we are doing for sexual and gender-based violence. He is an advocate. He is passionate. He is a mercenary when it comes to eradicating sexual and gender-based violence. And he is also the young man that has given us a new hashtag for our campaign this month. He has 1 in 3 to 0. That is going to be our new hashtag that we're going to be carrying forward for the month. He mentioned that the statistics is 1 in 3 are being effective. And he said, our goal is to make that 0. So we have adopted a new hashtag, 1 in 3 to 0. And we're going to be putting that throughout the postings of this on our Instagram and our Twitter feeds. And we're going to be hashtagging it along with excerpts of this on our commercial side and our social media side. So without further ado, I introduce to you Ambassador Andrew Ramjohn, who can unmute his mic as I give him and pose him his question for today. Ambassador Ramjohn, what is an overview of sexual and gender-based violence from a cultural perspective in the Caribbean? Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you kindly, Dr. Amina Ali, Your Excellency. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to host this conference this morning and to speak to my fellow ambassadors and emissaries. I welcome each and every one that are here this morning, ambassadors, emissaries, from all over, and depending on what time zone you're in, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. With respect to my put on the question, before I answer that question, I'd just like to say this. Sexual gender-based violence is an issue of epic proportion that reflects the unequal power dynamics created within the gender system and is often perpetrated by those with more physical, cultural, or social power and inflicted upon those without. The close association of violence with masculinity has created dangerous and unjust power dynamic that manifests in the forms of violent, physical, verbal, and psychological aggression and affects an alarming proportion of the population. Though SGBV includes everyone who experiences violence due to their gender, certain groups are more heavily affected. As stated, 1 in every 3 women in the world has been beaten, forced to have sex, or subjected to some other form of abuse. Generally, it was found between all of these instances that determinants meaning a factor which decisively affects the outcome of violence, lie in social relations as violence. I have identified, and I know I have my colleagues standing by to speak, so I don't want to go on with everything I have at hand, but I have identified 5 areas that are lacking within the Caribbean and the Caribbean countries and CARICOM as a whole. We have a lack of adequate resources. A lack of adequate resources contributes to the quality of care given to patients experiencing SGBV. A lack of transportation to healthcare facilities impeded victims' abilities to access proper care. Healthcare centers also lacked adequate space to serve victims of SGBV. Many times, patients overflowed into the hallways because of the lack of space in the waiting rooms and experienced long wait lines of the hospital's overpopulation. The second observance that I have made is the lack of adequate preparation. In my humble opinion, only 27% of doctors and nurses had some type of SGBV training. In some instances, it was common for healthcare professionals to only treat patients medically without viewing them holistically, which could mean that while treating patients as medical subjects enables their physical wounds to heal, the mental anguish below the surface remains present for the victims of SGBV. I believe that healthcare professionals must receive adequate training, or as I say, educating, in order to actively listen and support patients emotionally in order to appropriately treat them. My third observation was that ignorance of vulnerable groups. Inadequacies in care for vulnerable populations, such as even transgender people, sexual minorities, pregnant people, and people with health issues. I cannot remember how many times I have said that greater education on treatment of vulnerable populations who experience SGBV is absolutely necessary. Women living in rural areas also experience barriers to receiving care. Due to a lack of transportation, as stated before, some women are unable to access timely care. Many women depended on their sometimes abusive partners for transportation, which would have made it very difficult for them to travel to health centers without their partner discovering their efforts to seek medical care. My fourth observation was limitations. And by that, I mean such things as the tools for detection and confrontation of SGBV for healthcare professionals. We cannot neglect the fact that hegemonic or dominating cultural forces behind the phenomena, like SGBV, are rooted in long-term cultural norms and thus need to be evaluated over larger periods of time. My fifth observation, and there are many more, but I'm only going to go 5. I want to be respectful of my colleagues. My fifth and final consideration is simply this. We need a widespread call for more comprehensive preparation for healthcare professionals involved in identifying and addressing SGBV. Stigma concerns would be immensely beneficial to enhance privacy measures, placing greater emphasis on completion of multiple visits and ongoing care and support for victims is another important healthcare-based method for ensuring quality care. These are all vital steps in the process of survivor rehabilitation. However, focusing on social determinants of violence may be more beneficial to overhauling SGBV at large. In the Caribbean, there are several cultural structures that currently act as supports for the privileging of masculine violence over safety of women and other vulnerable groups. Machismo culture, machismo culture, or the culture of male dominance makes a bad situation even worse. The acceptance of violence and it allows men to feel secure in their decisions to pursue violence. In order to extract any effective change, cultural norms associated with machismo culture, particularly the normalization of this cultural attitude, must be confronted to reflect a more equitable division of gender and power. We need the advocacy of healthcare workers, especially considering that healthcare professionals are often at the front lines of observation of the repercussions of violence. Cultural norms as well as healthcare procedures and legal studies will not change. Healthcare professionals have a unique position of authority on this issue, and it should be realized to readjust cultural norms of male dominance and normalization of violence, as opposed to frantically attempting to repair damage done by not only men in the Caribbean, but worldwide. Healthcare professionals should practice a comprehensive approach to SGBV and intimate partner violence as part of the epidemic that presents an urgent threat to society and should be addressed with all resources available. In closing, I'd like to say accountability on the part of perpetrators, in which I would include the governing bodies, those committing the violence, and a culture that allows for the continuation of these heinous crimes is absolutely necessary to evaluate the most beneficial methods for the installation of adequate prevention and recuperation protocols with healthcare contexts when dealing with SGBV. Until proper educational, cultural, and legal guidelines are enacted to protect the human right of basic safety for these vulnerable groups, no response from the healthcare field for this epidemic is enough.
Correct.
We must also educate the public, in order to break the cycle of silence, break the bias. We need to break the bias and break that cycle of silence that fails to condemn perpetrators of SGBV and intimate partner violence. We need to educate. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you. I can't even begin to even say, wow. Yes, that in and of itself, in what you gave, as someone wrote, I'm going to read this to you. She said, conflict and war only expose women and girls to more sexual exploitation and abuse, coupled with the emergence of the pandemic. We have more cases of marital abuse and rape cases of neglect and exploitation. We most of all stand together and speak with the voice because of the victims, because all of the victims of such leave with the scar and trauma of their lives. All perpetrators must be brought and booked. I like that part. Brought and booked so it can serve as an example for others. And I wrote powerful. So she just wrapped up what you just expanded on. And I promise you, if anyone heard an ounce of what you said, they should be private messaging you, asking for that outline in text form in some way to be emailed to them, because that's powerful. If they could just speak those words, even if it's in a small catechism of a space, those words would affect the change that we need. And I can't say anything but thank you, Ambassador. You once again, you've never let me down. You have never ceased to not amaze me. And I thank you so very much for this powerful rendition. I can't even thank you. So hold on to a gem for us at the end, because we definitely are going to come back to you for that. I'd like to recognize a few ambassadors that have come on since you've spoken. I do have Ambassador Nana Izzy Musa from the Women for Equality, Inclusion and Sustainability Foundation, if I said that right. She is here. I also have Dr. Vassima Williams, who is, I should say, Pastor Chaplain Dr. Williams, who is from Baltimore, Maryland, here in the United States. And I have Dr. Kalima Fatima Abdul Qudus, who is royalty in her own right, and she is coming to support us as well. Thank you so very much for these dignitaries for coming through. I equally would like to ask that as you come on, please mute your mics and allow each of us to enjoy the presentation as in order. Next is an emissary. He may be new to diplomacy, but he's truly not new to the power of his voice and what it is that it means to support sexual and gender-based violence solutions in Trinidad. He is somebody that I have recognized to be a true diplomat in his own right in time, and really someone that has gotten the, what they say, has the ball and runs with it when it comes to solutions in this. And I am so proud of him. He is under the tutelage, of course, Ambassador Andrew Ramjohn, who is going to be mentoring him forward. But in his own right, he stands on his own 2 feet. He is a mental health advocate, a sexual and gender-based violence instructor, a former global peace ambassador for 2020. He uses his experience and working education and information in the entertainment industry to influence social change. So in and of itself, just knowing not only what you need to do, but then idolizing and emulating those around you in the entertainment field, getting that word out to the masses is very, very important. So without further ado, I introduce you to emissary Kareem Rice, who is our keynote speaker for the day. And he is also one that will be answering this question. So emissary Rice, if you can unmute your mic, I will give you your question. What shapes the views in society that permits sexual and gender-based violence to still be allowed? What are some of the varying factors that still allow it to happen? Please, the floor is yours.
Good day, everyone. Can you all hear me clearly? Yeah, awesome. My name is Kareem Daniel Rice. Thank you for that amazing introduction. There's so much that I can say as it relates to the way media or music, various forms of media, the way it influences the human being. Me being in the entertainment industry and having that experience, I understand what music does, and I understand what any form of stimulant can do to the mind. Yeah, I believe that from where I sit, we are influenced by what we see and what we hear heavily in our country, in terms of doing the work or trying to bring awareness to the issues that persons may be facing, or the victims, what they may be facing. Whilst that work is being done, simultaneously, our culture within itself, whether it be the music, whether it be videos or ads, it's highly sexualized, right? And on a subliminal level, that within itself is like a mysterious force fighting against the positive work that is being done by us on the ground doing the work. And I definitely know my colleague Mackenzie Francis can add more to that. So I don't want to seem greedy and talk about everything in that regard. Um, Also, I have noticed, because I find myself sitting in a lot of workshops or classes related to gender-based violence or sexual gender-based violence. And I realize that the education process is amazing. It's amazing, really amazing. However, when we are about to um, implement the ideas and the plans that the students would have been envisioning in their mind to go and actually assist the people. That process, yeah, that synaptic gap where things have to be realized from or it has to be taken from idea, the concept to actually happen, to actually happen to help the people. There is a disconnect in terms of the functionality of um, the systems that should be in place for the work to actually been done. And within that distortion, the process of actually helping people or helping the victims or um, achieving the objective it's decreased. The success rate of it is greatly decreased, and that influences our society as well when the idea isn't isn't able to be um, transcribed or translated into action effectively because the resources may have been um, hindered. The process of it getting to us have been hindered, and when we look at the reason behind the resources being um, delayed or not coming at all, and persons have to come out of pocket to get things done, which is no problem. Yeah, uh, we we are under pressure, uh, and we are not able to assist persons who are in need as fast or as swiftly as we should. And we do have the ideas and the know-how to do it. However, having said all of that, me being someone who is thrifty or um, I like to see things get done, I have ideas and some of my colleagues do. And um, in combating the culture, whether it be, I'm going to use a strong word here, whether it be the rape culture um, that is perpetuated through the media and the information that is disseminated to the people, I think that we can work on um, forms of media, whether it be films and documentaries, um, uh, merging and combining the ideas of the persons who are actually doing the work, because I sit silently and I observe. I can see who is doing the work for doing the work's sake and not seeking fame for doing this work. Yeah, I can see that. And from silently sitting and coming up with these ideas, I think that creating media to assist in combating it and assist in educating persons um, is the only way to really sensitize the population, because it's not like there isn't there aren't that it's not like there aren't any forms of media already being perpetuated in society that can educate persons. But I think that more thought needs to be placed into the 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 impact it may have on society, because it's like trying to recall a history, right? And um, most persons that I know or grew up with can't think about great-great-grand, right? Or how the great-great-grand would have been. So in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to really trying to understand why is this person behaving in this aggressive manner, we wouldn't know. All right. What we would see is the outcome, the outcome, and the outcome of we'd see the violence. All right, we'd see the violence, and then we would see an uproar, a huge uproar, and these are the things that are being shown to us regarding the topic of gender-based violence. There isn't um, what happened to this person who is doing the act of violence, who's committing the act of violence. Why is this person like this? Yeah. So that's like a mystery. So what we have is violence, then an outcry for punishment for the violence. But I think that it goes deeper. It goes deeper than that. And from a psychological or a psychiatric standpoint, I think, and I'm not a psychologist, I'm just a thinking person, yeah. I think that if there was a way for the creatives to get involved and actually show, yeah, vividly, that here's this is where it actually stemmed from. All right, we resulted in this. Yeah, this happened to the victim, but the solution may not be necessarily punishment, because if things continue going the way it is going, a lot more persons would have to be punished, because nothing would actually change, and it would just be punishment and punishment and punishment and punishment and punishment. And I can see that, and it's like, from a cultural standpoint, it is scary, yeah. But being an emissary of sexual gender-based violence and being willing to assist my peers, I am one of those type of guys who gives the time, sits down and processes what my female peers or counterparts or friends say. And I try to understand the reason why the idea isn't coming off the ground. And I attack it with my masculinity, where even if it means that I would have to directly write or address an NGO organization that's supposed to be doing something and helping us accomplish our goals easy, I would be that guy who will set some fire and make them very uncomfortable in order for us to get things done, because uh, there's clearly a problem within society, and I don't want to take up too much time. Yeah. Hopefully that all that I've said is understood, and I'm saying it from the depth of my heart in the most respectful way. And I really appreciate this opportunity to share my thoughts. Yeah. Um, Thank you.
Thank you so much, emissary. I really appreciate you. And I really appreciate the insight. You did speak to certain traditions that we hold. And what I heard is that there's certain things that we still do that we don't even realize consciously or subconsciously that we're still doing. So I'm getting from that solutions that have to deal with retraining our young so that it won't become a habit when we become older. It's very, very easy to train up a child in the way in which they need to go. But it is very hard once that child becomes an adult to retrain them or to fathom a miseducational program that will correct them. I think that's why the correctional facilities now are not effective, because they're trying to change a hardened perception of society when it's easier to get into the softened side, which is the youth, and change their dynamics. So thank you so very much. And thank you very, very much. And you spoke of Makesi Francis, and he is going to be coming up next. I'm going to read a bit of his bio as we get him ready. And we are going to bring him on. He is a new voice, but not one that is not for sake of understanding a soft one. I like to use that term because it allows us to know and understand that one of the things that we see in society is quiet giants, as Ambassador Andrew Ramjohn is. He's one of those quiet giants that you don't see coming, but if you're over 40, you'll understand it's a E.F. Hutton things. When they speak, you listen. So he is one that is budding into his own. He is a very dynamic person. I'm reading his bio last night and trying to get to know him a bit better. And I'm noticing that his work is just outstanding. I can't say thank you enough for what he does. Mr. Francis is a youth leader from Trinidad and Tobago working on gender equality, violence prevention, and youth empowerment initiatives. Very, very important. He works at the Caribbean Male Action Network. And that's C-Man, if you didn't get the C-Man, get it? C-Man, Caribbean, okay, anyway. But we are seeing him as a great man in this. He is a regional network director on transforming masculinities, as well as utilizing his talents at the U.S. Embassy funded Trinidad Resilience Initiative, which encourages youth away from gang involvement and connects them to development and developing opportunities for themselves. In 2021, under Spotlight Initiative, he co-founded Victim Eyes, a social media campaign raising awareness of rape culture and promoting positive social norms. Since 2015, he has been volunteering with the We Say Yes organization, including as assistant branch lead and president of the youth-led cooperative. We Say Yes is an entrepreneurial and mentorship program for children and youth from low-income families. So not only does he have the bandwidth, but he has the breadth of data that is coming with his service. So without further ado, McKessie, yeah, there he is. If you can unmute your mic, I will give you your question for today. And I want to thank you again for coming. Your question is, what steps can businesses take to help in educating their employees on sexual and gender-based violence? The floor is yours.
Okay, first and foremost, you're able to hear me clearly, right?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm McKessie Francis. So my question, I focused on, I know most people would take it at the standpoint of educating, raising awareness, and so on. But I wanted to take it from the standpoint of the business being the role model for the workers, right? So I think people need to understand that businesses, that there are three sectors in society. There's the there's the public, private, and the civil society. The public and the civil society is important. It's kind of essential for the grassroots level work, for the work on the ground level, right? They're the ones who stir up, like some of the trouble to get government officials involved to then create more policies and laws around certain things. So what I want to focus on is 5 policies, 5 frameworks that an organization, whether it be civil society, private, or public, can influence into their work, right? And the first one is prevention, violence, and harassment by identifying potential risks. So there's a tool called the Business for Social Responsibility Diagnostic. The tool enables a company to self-assess how effective their existing policies, programs, cultures, leadership strategies, and to help tackle violence and harassment. The second one is to commit to gender equality and diversity across the workplace. So we know in the workplace there's leadership, and leadership should be committed to diversity, equality, and respecting persons within the workplace and the workplace itself, backed by adequate resources and action. And doing so, we tackle the problem at its root, because we tackle gender inequality, and it creates that trust among the staff that is in the environment. Within this foundation, we are raising awareness about gender-based violence, sexual gender-based violence and any type of abuse that is occurring within the workplace or even outside the workplace. That can appear as tokenism and like a lack of legitimacy, right? The third one that I want to talk about is protecting the employees with support policies and procedures. In this one, I want to state that when we're talking about policies, we must have the persons who are going to be affected by these policies. So it's going to be key that we incorporate women and girls into developing these policies and procedures, along with whoever is going to be impacted by these policies. Their voices, their experiences need to be heard for us to move forward, right? Especially the voices of the women and girls who have been marginalized. So let's say the women and girls who are a part of the LGBTQIA community, the ones who are from under-resourced areas and so on, those marginalized voices. We also need to have a multi-agency approach to understand the risk factors in each case. So in the UK, the United Kingdom, there is a domestic homicide review. Whenever there's a domestic related murder occurs, in the review, there's a lot of personal issues that they are going to analyze. So they're going to review the victim and the perpetrator's social media platforms. They're going to have interviews with their families, their close friends, and so on, so that they could get an understanding of what led up to the point of these incidents. And in doing this, having this, proper procedures can empower the staff and take appropriate action when needed, but also reassure the survivors, the bystanders, and the persons who are the perpetrators. The fourth one I want to talk about is collaboration and campaigning. So beyond the workplace, this is something that has to happen. Companies have the ability to influence social norms and behaviors on gender-based violence. Remember what I said at the beginning that there are three sectors in society: the public, the private, and the civil society, the NGOs, that is the society. They are essential.
I think we've lost his connection. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. We lost you for a minute, but go ahead. Keep going.
What's the last thing you did?
You just said what I said in the beginning. You made mention to, you said, right, as I mentioned in the beginning.
Yes, so as I mentioned in the beginning, there are three sectors in society: the public, the private, and the civil society. The civil society is also known as NGOs or CSOs, right? And when doing collaboration, they are essential because they're the ones who influence social, societal norms and decisions that are occurring in society. So companies, as I said before, have the influence to influence societal norms and the behaviors of gender-based violence through advertising and campaigning, particularly when the issues align with their core business values, their aims, their objectives, and including their cultural norms and relevance, points, and actions. So in collaboration, there's also going to be forming relationships with other organizations so we can learn from them. There's also going to be a greater reach of various groups, various minorities, right? The fifth one I want to talk about is accountability and monitoring actions. I'm not sure if you all know about the feminist called Dr. Flood, right? In one of his presentations, he indicated that our accountability as men, since today is about, we have the men here, right? Our accountability as male advocates is important in advancing women's rights. Due to us living in a patriarchal society, our voices tend to be elevated a bit more. However, we must not take You all hear me, right?
Yes, we do. You just muted yourself.
Sorry. Yeah, I was receiving a call. Sorry about that. Right. Due to us living in a patriarchal society, male voices are elevated and valued a bit more. However, we must acknowledge and be aware of the years and decades of hard work that the women have put in terms of women's rights. We have to create more spaces that allow for women and girls to be a part of leadership, for their voices to be recognized and respected. The monitoring process would allow for an understanding of the policy that we have in the place that we're working and the places that we are in various environments. So the workplace, at home, and outside. Once we do this effectively, we will know if the policies that we have within our organizations are working effectively and efficiently for us to move forward. And those are the 5 that I have. And just to go to reiterate them again. Number 1 is to prevent violence and harassment by identifying potential risks. 2, commit to gender equality and diversity across the workplace. 3, protect employees with supportive policies and procedures. 4, collaborate and campaigning. And 5, be accountable and monitor in action. Once an organization to properly have these procedures and policy in place, the workforce would be able to understand and view these policies, and they could learn from them and be trained. And that is the end of what I have to say right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Those last 2, 4 and 5 is right up there with me, you know, that accountability piece, especially. So many times that, and I can mesh that with the understanding of what we do in our work. I have interns that sometimes put posts up for me, and they put the posts as they write it. And then sometimes the language barrier kind of allows their English to be a little off. And I always get little nudges from certain ambassadors that check your post, check your post. And it's one of those things that they're posting for me because I can't see everything and I want to make sure that I get word out. But most of the time it is because there is an accountability to promote the work and to mentor the work. So when I go and see errors, I go and check it and I edit it. And I did some of that today. And I remember saying to myself, wow, to know that they are checking and double checking and I'm checking on them allows that accountability to flow. So that was a great example that you put out there. I like the very first one, preventive measures, which of course, an ounce of prevention is greater than a pound of cure. I know that there is a huge, huge need for us to prevent, but because of traditional thinking, because of religious ordinations, and just the hardening of cognitive dissonance allows us to not know how to do that. And then when we have someone as powerful as you as a youth that come up and just knock it out the box and just say, yeah, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Some of the elders are like, I don't know. So it meets that resistance. And a lot of times, as I think Madame Parachi said in one of her posts, she said something like, we need something about accountability, but I think she said something about being welcome to it. So it's one of those things that not only do we have to have that accountability, but we have to have reasons to access it and be welcome to it. Like make it a norm, make it what is the new term now? Relevant. Make it relevant to what it is that we're doing. And sometimes we don't know how to do that. You know, if we can make videos sexy and we can make everything look so alluring, then I know that things that we are passionate about, we can find ways to campaign a more positive outlook so that people will adapt it. And I want to thank you so very much for that. That was very, very powerful, very open, very austere, and it's something that we can put our hands on. Again, as we're waiting for our guest speaker to come on, I'm going to ask each of the panelists to put your full name, your business orientation, and maybe an email in the chat box so people can catch up to you. I'm noticing that I'm getting private messages asking me, where is he from? How do I get in touch with him? So can each of the panelists that have spoken put a name, a title, and maybe your organization and put it in there? And can everyone else that I mentioned, Chaplain James, Mercy, we have Dr. Chaplain, Dr. Vassima Williams, put all of your information in there so people can reach out to you. Ambassador Nana, I'm going to ask you to put your information in there as well, so that each of us can reach out to us and continue this conversation offline. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our last and final speaker of the day. He is someone that has allowed me to understand that you don't have to be in the field to be as powerful and as mighty as you need to be in the mission. And he has come to me on many, many occasions asking for support. And I have never, ever known that I've said no to him because of his power, his valor, and his connection in his space. Mr. Oreki Francis is a reliable and focused, result-oriented graduate of applied microbiology with years of professional experience in implementing successful strategies, coaching, mentoring, and motivating highly tough and ill-manageable teams to produce significant bottom-line results. Competent and confident in planning and communicating complex methodologies, he's adept at solving analytical problems and recognizing them expertly. He is in strategic development and provides a corporate vision that allows him to be comfortable with both communication and data with a strong work ethic. He is loyal and he demonstrates excellent client liaison, resulting in increased revenue, client satisfaction, and of course, referrals. Without further ado, I introduce to you Francis Oreki, and I ask for you to unmute your mic as I read you your question for today. If there could be a policy, law, or protocol put into place to protect women and girls from future sexual and gender-based violence, what would some of the working wording be in that proposal? What are some of the things that it should say, it should promote, it should ordain? And in your professional experience, give it in real time, give it in layman's terms so that we can all understand it. Mr. Francis, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Amin Ali. You've been doing tremendously well for the society at large. I must applaud you for all you've been doing. And at the same time, I want to acknowledge all the speakers, the host, and my fellow panelists who have spoke extensively well on this issue of gender violence. I listened to all your talk, and I must appreciate you for all you have spoken upon. So please permit me to use the audio part. I'm still on the road. I just closed from work, so I'm still on my way going home. So kindly permit me to use the audio part. So I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Yes, sir. Yes, very well. Very clearly.
Thank you very much. So, well, the issue of gender equity, it's actually a long-run one that would have been that would always exist, sincerely, to always exist. But the power of women is sufficient. Most times I could remember the old-aged people, they will always say, if not my daughter, I would have died long ago, to show you how powerful women are. But, but gender equity can actually be breached with inculcating policies that give room for fair play, equal access to opportunities, and creating systems that judge based on qualification, abilities, capacity, proven records, not necessarily gender. Because when you look at our society today, we get to realize that most times people look at gender when it comes to, let me use the political aspects, when it comes to the political aspects. People look at the gender, people look at, say, women cannot go for presidency. Let me use the word presidency. I could remember those days back in the school when we were in the university, when we were in the student union government. They always resist women for vital positions like presidency, and which is wrong, without understanding that women have this capacity to lead. Women have this capacity to change the environment to a better one. So to curb sexual and gender-based violence, awareness campaigns can be used as a tool to educate first the victims who are often bullied into silence to speak up. Most times young people, especially at a young age, they're always being bullied, maybe because they don't want them to speak up, they don't want them to, to challenge those who have been bullying them and all that, and which is wrong. So this is the right time, at an advocacy of gender rights equality, to speak up, to educate those little ones, to teach them on how to, be able to speak up when it comes to, their, peer pressure, their peers or their senior ones bullying them not to speak up. Okay, there was something that happened recently in Nigeria. That was late last year in one secondary school like that. A little boy was bullied to join a cult gang, but eventually he couldn't speak up because of the fear of the unknown, because of the fear of those people who are being bullying him. And at the end of the day, okay, when he got home, he told his mom, "Oh, mom, these are the people, some couple of people in school are bullying me." But the mom never took it so serious. The mom was thinking that this is just a minor issue. But when the guy got back to school, he was killed by the same people that were bullying him, and which is wrong. So it is time for us to, utilize the means of, social media to educate the young people. That is whatsoever the, wheresoever the bullying is coming from, it is vital that, they speak up to ensure that justice is prevailed. So again, education curriculum that teaches safety and balance between genders should be taught in secondary school. Most times, or rather in colleges, most times these things are not being taught. That is why young, people don't understand that this is important for them to stand out and speak up. Even in tertiary institutions, that's the way, that way, their mindset will shift from the right development to behavioral, patterns. And even in the family aspect, in our own, environment, we should always teach our children that it is fundamental. It is fundamental to always stand at the right track. I also want to talk about indecent dressings. I could see in the comment box where someone is saying that female are, of gender rights. Most times, hello, I don't know, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. There's a little bit of background noise, but we can still hear you. Yes.
Okay. So most times, I think somebody is actually distracted with his mic. Okay, thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you for noticing.
Indecent dressing has been a very big issue, especially for the ladies. And this could attract a lot of, gender violence. This could attract, when it comes to sexual violence. When a little child is not dressing properly well, what does that little child, have in mind? She might not have anything in mind, but at the same time, she's attracting people around him to notice him. Like these days, what we experience these days is that ladies see indecent dressing as a way of attracting men. Probably maybe to come marry them, or probably to be their boyfriend or something like that, or probably to look more attractive, which is wrong. When you dress smartly as a lady, and most times the social media don't, like carrying such a dress. When a young lady dress smartly and come out of the environment, people see her as decent as she is. They will always get attracted to her. But most ladies these days do not understand that dressing smartly make you look smartly as well. You must not necessarily dress indecently to attract people around you. So women are always capable of doing outstanding things. So it's vital for us to understand that if only the society gives them that opportunity, most times the society are the problem we have. They don't give them that opportunity to emphasize the capacity, to express their, capacity in the things they know that they can do. And the only way to do this is to remove many restrictions that hinder women from exhibiting their full potentials, and also abolish inhuman customs that keep our women in perpetual bondage. So hence, if ever we are tempted to treat any woman as a secondary or worthless, we must always remember the great women who are successful. People like Mary Slessor, even you, Her Excellency Aminali, you are successful. You have walked through the journey. So young ladies should always have this in mind. And the society should always have the women in mind as well. So all these laudable pace setters, world figures, and great personalities are women. Thus, either male or female, we are all created in the likeness and the image of God. So what good for the goose, they say, is always good for the gander. So every man deserves to be treated with care and love and dignity. So in conclusion, I would say that women have an inevitable role to play in the society. And as well, we as parents always have a role to play in our children. Because when we play, if the usual role that we are expected to play in our homes, without leaving it for without leaving it for the tutors, without leaving it for the teachers or for the lecturers, from there we're gonna embrace more changes in our home. So thank you very much, Amina, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The wording was perfect. We have the essentials of what it is that we need. We have the solution base. And of course, we have people like you that are advocates in the direction of betterment. So we can't do anything else but move forward with a more positive effect. So thank you so very much. And I will hold you to that and allow you to continue on what it is that you do in the better way that you do it, so that we can follow you by example. I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. I was remiss that I didn't announce one of our ambassadors that was here, and I apologize in advance for not mentioning her. Aisha Baba, she who is a gender equality and inclusion and sustainability policy advocate from the same organization we talked about, from Women for Equality, Inclusion, and Sustainability Foundation. Please excuse me for not mentioning. And then Madam Parachi, who is an economic dependence, has drawn, that's a question. I'm sorry, I was introducing you, but okay, that's a question. Economic dependence has been found to be the central reason without the ability to sustain themselves economically, are forced to stay in abusive relationships and are not able to be free from the violence of economic empowerment as well. Once they understand the issue, they'll be able to raise their voice and follow. Yes, absolutely. That is so powerful and so necessary to say. Sometimes it seems easier said than done, but understanding if we can get that as the root and we can get that that deeper inside of what it is that we're doing, I think that will come away as a solution as well. So I would like to close this out thanking each of the ambassadors that have come, each of those heads of state that has joined us today. I want to thank you for your time. Equally, as you know, I have my information there. Please email me or WhatsApp me if you'd like the recording from today. If you'd like to have it personally, or if you'd like to have a replay of this, please let me know as well. I'd like to close out by having each of the ambassadors give 20 to 30 seconds of a gem. We're going to leave this in state so that those that have heard us or those that haven't heard us or coming a little late would be able to hear a piece of what we gave. So if you could, starting with Ambassador Andrew Ramjohn, sorry. Could you give us 20 seconds of a gem that you'd like us, a takeaway that you'd like to leave us? Please.
Thank you very much, Excellency. I want to refer back to the gem I spoke of yesterday. I want to repeat that because it comes from the heart. And after listening to everybody speak today on this topic, I want to emphasize again that I would like to see fire teams around the world becoming increasingly vocal as we have been today, but this is to each other. I need us to get out there today to speak out against gender-based violence, and our message must be very simple. As I said yesterday, we are calling for the number of women affected by gender-based violence across the world to be reduced from 1 in 3 to 0. Just a quick second gem. It is more of a teaser, if you will, Dr. Ali, to you. I want to be able to speak out on gender-based violence on a forum. I am ready for it. And particularly the question of how can we address gender-based violence? Because you see, access to justice for women who have experienced gender-based violence has 3 dimensions. 1, protecting women by improving laws and policies raising awareness of women's rights. 2, providing redress by strengthening institutional responses to gender-based violence. And 3, raising the cost to men of engaging in gender-based violence by establishing or increasing criminal sanctions and mandating participation in treatment programs. So I leave that with you, Dr. Ali. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well, just know, I was looking at my notes because I was like, you asked for it, so here it goes. On March 26th, the FIGHR team will be doing our closing event. It will be our second main event, but it will be closing out the Commission on the Status of Women 66 event. It'll be on March 26th, just for everyone. Same time, same link. And it's HeForShe, the voice of fire. Our men speak. And that's what we're going to title it. So you are going to be, of course, one of our panelists, as well as the other men of fire. And you're going to be able to speak. And we have 6 men, so we're going to be able to give you at least 5 to 7 minutes, and that will be your time. So thank you so very much. When you ask for something, be ready for it to come because it is here. So on March 26, 2020, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will be right here again, listening to Ambassador Andrew Ramjohn give his dissertation on that. So thank you so very much again. Next is Emissary Kareem Rice, who is going to give us our 20 to 30 second gem. If you can unmute your mic and just give us something, give us a takeaway, something you'd like to leave us with as advisement or just mentorship.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I think that the best thing I can say to my fellow men is the strength that we already know we have. We don't necessarily have to use that strength all the time to move everything heavy in the world. Sometimes that strength is better used in holding the woman up so that they can achieve their dreams or their tomorrow. Yeah, that's my
Thank you. Thank you. No, I appreciate it, Emissary. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Next is Makesi Francis. If you can unmute your mic and give us a 20, 30 second gem, something to leave us with and give us a takeaway, please.
So, hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, in terms of my question, it was educating the employees on gender-based violence. So, I just want to talk about 2 gems that stuck out the most to me, but I really appreciate, which was in terms of employees being the role model, the employer being the role model is the accountability and monitoring actions. Accountability as men, not saying that in businesses all the leaders are men, but as the male workers, we should advocate for women's rights and not just take away from the work that they've been doing, but add to the value of their work. And 2, being committed to the cause in terms of always being committed to diversity and gender equality. And I'll end there.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate that. And thank you for that, because that's very important also, especially in business. And last but not least, Mr. Francis Oreki, can you give us a gem? I know you're driving home, so I hope when we didn't meet, I think, yes, okay, you're still there. Can you give us a 20 to 30 second gem, please?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Amina. I just want to leave everyone with this. Love has no gender, compassion has no religion, while character has no race. So it is our duty to go into the field and make the society right and make the gender right. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Aisha, I agree. Yes, that was nice. I like that. I'd like to speak the name of Lady Khadija Zubaru, who has let me know that she too can appreciate this personally. And I want to speak her name out loud because she needs everyone to say a small prayer for her right now and allow her to know that there are other people in her corner. Lady Zubaru, if you need me, you have my information in the chat box. Please reach out to me, and I can direct you to many of those that are here in support of you, and will also be able to have you lifted up in prayer. If we can't help you physically, we definitely can help you spiritually. So thank you so very much for your bravery in announcing that to me today. So thank you so very much. I have no questions in the chat box. I've been looking. Thank you so very much for the dignitaries and the diplomats and their delegations for coming out today. I want to thank specifically those that came from the Trinidadian delegation, those that showed up and showed out. I think it's more of you than there is the regular public, and I thank you so very much. I equally would like to thank Dr. Vassima Williams, who will be closing us out today. If she could unmute her mic and close us out in prayer, please.
Namaste to everyone. Gracious and almighty, we bow before you and say thank you for every gift that has been given during this time that we have shared together. Let us not leave this place in pieces, but allow everything that has been spoken to hug every piece of ourselves and every piece of what we do and every passion of our work back together, so that we may impact, support, and love those who need us most. As we go away from this time, let us go away inspired in order to do a greater work to honor you. Amen.
Amen. Amin. Ashe. Aho. And so it is. Selah. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate this that you have given us. To those of you, again, that need this link, please see me afterwards. And for those that are wishing and wanting to continue this, on March 15th, we have our very next one that is going to be hosted by Ambassador Chisala Chichibwala from the Republic of Zambia, who will be coming on, and he has a plethora of heavy hitters as well that is going to be coming on talking about the African response and what it is that is necessary and needed in the continent to give way to the understanding of the power that is there and that it needs to be unleashed and opened from the male voice. So I thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here. And I will close out today saying, you are better than you give yourself credit for. And someone is waiting for your story to be told, to be inspired. So inspire today, and for everyone, thank you again. Be well.